I love to take what skeptics might point at as a contradiction, right? As we're going through the life of Christ, we have 4 different accounts, oftentimes sharing the same event, and sometimes there appear to be discrepancies. There appear to be what some would claim a contradiction. And one such contradiction is just right out of the gate with the Sermon on the Mount. In Matthew chapter 5, at the beginning of chapter 5, it says that Jesus, seeing the multitudes, went up on a mountain, and when he was seated, his disciples came to him, and then he began to teach. And that's why we call it the Sermon on the Mount, because Jesus says Jesus went up on a mountain. But in Luke's gospel, Luke says in verse 17 that he came down with them and stood on a level place. And that a crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people, and then he lifted up his eyes towards his disciples and he said, and then it goes into the teaching. So which is it? Did he go up on the mountain or did he come down to a level place? Was he on a mountain or was he on the plain? Uh-oh. Right? The skeptics will point out and say, contradiction. You can't trust the Bible. It can't even get those simple little details right. Well, of course, there's always ways that you can look and go, okay, that's not necessarily the case. There's something else going on that we're not aware of. Maybe that, someone is nitpicking on the minuscule detail and trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, be a sermon on the molehill. But actually what we see going on here, there's 2 possible explanations. There'll probably be more than that, but these 2 make sense to me. The first one is that he was on a level place and step up onto the mountain, the slope, in order for everybody to be able to see him, right? Because there's a reason the pulpit's up here. There's a reason I don't stand down there to teach you. Now, I'm a little more elevated, everybody can see me. Well, there's a multitude, possible hundreds or thousands, standing around Jesus. So he gets up on an elevated position from which to address the crowd. That's one possibility. There was a plain, there was a flat area, and he went up on the mountain to teach from. So they could both be right. Or Jesus was a traveling preacher. Okay, now I can't preach the same sermon over and over and over again because, you hear it over and over and over again. Eventually you're going to think, hey, pastor, tell us something else, right? But if you're a traveling preacher, every town you're probably saying very similar things. Jesus probably preached some of these very important points over and over and over again. So it's possible Matthew is recalling one situation where Jesus taught, and Luke is recalling a different situation where Jesus is teaching the exact same sermon. And so there's these possibly not necessarily a contradiction going on there. But those who maybe want to disbelieve the Bible are quick to see things that in their mind would discredit the scriptures very quickly. And so, a level place on the mountain. There you go. He went up the mountain. There was a level spot. There was a little ledge, right? Peter, get away from the edge.